Hello and welcome to another episode of Metal Effort. My name's Nehemiah, and today we're going to be looking at this hunk of metal, the Boos Blade Hound. This is really exciting. This is on loan from my buddy JP, and I'll be getting it back to him here pretty soon. I haven't had a chance to check a Boos Blade knife out. I've, like everybody, been interested in the smoke, and so I was kind of intrigued with the new offering, and I kind of like the idea of this knife, so it's great to get the chance to check it out. So first things first, we will do our size comparison. Got our PM2. We have our Para 3. This is a 3.25 inch blade, so a little bit longer than the Para 3, a little bit smaller than the PM2. It's probably my favorite blade length. I really like 3.52s. They're small enough to be EDC, no problem, and they're big enough to get most jobs done. So that's fantastic. Now, the weight on this guy is also of note. We've got titanium handles, but they are heavily milled out. So we're coming in 2.69, we'll call it 2.7. This is lighter than an ounce an inch, which is great. That's awesome. That's very impressive. So, without further ado, let's get into the dent, the decent, the excellent, the nitpicks, and the terrible of this piece of metal. First off in the decent is the weight. And so we're getting there a couple ways. In the kind of speed holes that you have on both sides, that's obviously going to be a weight reduction. But you also have some internal milling on both sides, actually, which really can contribute. Even the backspacer, you might consider that. Some weightening aspects, the little design that's going on there. So in your pocket, it pretty much disappears. Very small in the pocket. Also of note, this flipper tab kind of goes almost perfectly straight up. It curves off to the side ever so slightly, but it is doing that. And so there's not really too much of a pocket pecker. When it's in your pocket, everything's just kind of flush, really nice. Angles it off just a little bit, so it's kind of tucked in. In your pocket, this is very, very nice. Next, the cutting blade. So you got flats. At first, I thought it might be like a slight recurve, but I don't think it is. I think it's flat and then belly and then tip. Kind of a drop point. Classic practical blade shape as far as like cutting goes. You can get in deep if you need to. You got some stabbing power for that clamshell. It's pretty thin behind the edge. Not as good of a cutter as like my Spidey Chef or my Arius that I have. But still good. It's definitely finely ground, and I'm not really going to complain about its cutting power. It's pretty good. Not too bad at all. Next is the jimping. The jimping is pretty aggressive. I'm pretty picky about jimping, and this is on a tad kind of soft and not that grabby, but it's definitely better than some of the token jimping that's just there to look like it has jimping instead of to actually grab onto anything. I could use with maybe one or two more notches, but still, it's fine. It's okay. You got a little bit of jimping on the flipper tab. Now, what I like about this jimping is it works great in a traditional sense. There's kind of a hidden way to open the blade, and that's the Zippo lighter. And that jimping gives you the perfect amount of kind of griptitude to do the kind of lighter switch, which I actually surprisingly enjoy opening the knife that way. And it's not something you can do with a lot of knives, which is kind of cool. I mean, with a flipper tab, you kind of... Our old buddy, the Minitherium, getting outstaged again. All right, so next we're talking about the blade steel. This is M390. Very subtle. That's like my favorite spot for the steel type to be put, and just kind of above the blade, not plastered all over. Got a little booze there, a little doggy. I'm not offended by that, but I can feel it, and it might scratch off after heavy use after time. Not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. The next thing I like is this pivot. I think aesthetically it's nice. It does, at first it looks like it's like flush or even comes up. It's not. It's actually sunken in. So crud can get stuck in there, but for the most part, I like the way it looks. And it's just a very subtle way of having a non-free spinning pivot. so you can get in and out of the knife very easily, and you don't have to mess with having 2 screws to counterbalance the other. The next thing is just the fit and finish. The fit and finish is on point. The centering is perfect. The gaps are even for sure. They're not, super duper tight like the crazy expensive knives, but everything is pretty much the way it should be. You've got chamfering all over. There's nothing that's like poking you in any awkward spot. This is all flush. This is flush. Backspacers, flush. Everything is just like it should be. So hard to complain. It was really good work that we did. Not like as in us, but we knives. Next, the backspacer. Now, I mentioned this kind of weight reduction on the backspacer, but I think it's got a good look. It kind of matches. You got 3 holes on each side. Kind of matches the 3 holes here, which again echoes that kind of motif. You've got 3 points on the knife pivot. So kind of a knife of 3s, you might say. I like that. I noticed it. So somebody's thinking about that. Probably the guy that runs Boos. Now, let's go on to the Excellent. Now, there's 2 things that I want to point out for the Excellent. First is the action. Now, I like that there's kind of 2 ways to open it, and that's good. But just the actual action itself. You can tell this is a Wii knife because the action is amazing. Ceramic ball bearings. Very snappy open, and the drop shot is like pretty good. It's not, like a guillotine or anything. You gotta encourage it a little bit, but considering how thin and light this blade is, this is really good action. So it's, man, this knife is a conundrum, guys. We'll get to it here in a bit, but I am like perplexed by this knife because there's a lot of things that I really like about this knife. But, foreshadowing, before I get there, we're going to talk about the value. You've got M390, best steel around for pocket knife, probably the best. Titanium, excellent blade to body ratio, excellent blade to weight ratio. It looks good, it feels good, the fit and finish is good. And the price is $220. That is excellent. That's like undeniable, the value that you're getting for this knife. So, keeping all that in mind, let's go to the nitpicks. There are no nitpicks. None. So why am I apprehensive? Let's go to the terrible. The terrible. The ergonomics on this knife are terrible. I wrote down the word trash in my review, but that sounds really, really bad. It's not trash. It's bad. It's really bad. There's caveats. If you have baby fingers or if you're an alien, this could be a good knife for you. And I will prove it to you. If you're like, oh, you're being sarcastic. Nope. For babies and for aliens, this is going to be a really good knife. First off, this little swedge thing going on up here. Now, this sucker it's like the song of a siren. You think it's awesome. You think it's great. You look at the knife, it adds visual flair. Even when the knife is closed, it kind of looks cool that it's got that little finger swedge thing going on. And then you put the knife in your hand and you're like, yeah, I'm going to put my thumb there so I can bear it. Ow, this hurts. Ugh, so I got to choke up here and then, oh, I've got a Lego brick in my finger right there. And if I choke up, then I don't have anything to stop the knife from like popping out because I have this leverage of this is here, this is my pivot, and then my thumb is pushing down here. So the knife just wants to come up out of your hand. And my fingers can't grab onto it. So this is like a knife that should be at knife school. It'd be like, what's wrong with this knife? And why should it not be made? And everybody's like handling it like objectively before they like actually try to use it. And they're like, this knife is amazing. The materials, the price, the aesthetic, the fit and finish, blah, 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 blah. And then you can't use it. You can't use it without just like, ugh, I don't want to use this. because if I keep my fingers here, like the knife wants your fingers to be here, right? You got this big blocky part to try to hide that flipper tab, right? This has to be here. That's like the reason why the knife was made. So if I'm back here, I don't have room for all my fingers. And then it's exaggerated when I try to put my thumb up here, because now I'm doing that twisting motion again. And the knife just wants to come out of your hands. You have no leverage whatsoever. So if I push back and I hold on the jimping where the finger is, okay, this is more comfortable for my thumb to be here than it is here. So let's just pretend that this isn't here. Then is it a good knife? Well, no, because if my fingers are all here, then my pinky gets booted off. He's got nowhere to live. And so you've got this like weird, like I feel super far away from the knife, and my pinky doesn't have a place to live. And it's just like I've got this like old lady claw thing going on. And so the way that the knife makes the most sense to hold is like an alien. You do 3 fingers here because they fit. You put your thumb here, and then you put your pinky on the top side. And then that pins the knife down so it doesn't want to spin out of your hand because you have your thumb pushing here and your finger pushing way back here. You can't pinch your hands anywhere like you would on a choil. There's no choil here, so you can't pinch it here. Can't pinch it here because it's like a giant, huge block that's just not comfortable at all. And then your other fingers are like awkwardly lower, so that hurts. So like the only thing that makes sense is to do the alien claw thing. And honestly, like this would hurt after a little while because of this. But this is better than any other grip that I can like come up with. Or you got little baby hands, and then you can pick it up and little baby hands can use it. So that's who the knife is for. You got baby hands, or you got alien grip man who does this. I will say, in all seriousness, if you hold the knife this way, sideways, and do these kind of cuts, it's actually fine. This is because it's thinner this way than it is this way. By like a lot, by like 3 times. So this is more comfortable. If I'm gonna like chop, stab, swipe. I did that reversed. You get it. So pretty much, I'm really sad because this is not my knife, right? It's JP's. I'm gonna send it back to him. If I liked the knife, I was gonna try to get one, and they're all sold out, and I was gonna like go on a trek to try to find one. It's Cyber Monday. And he was slow rolling some Boos Hounds, I should say. So he has a sale right now where you buy 2 knives, you get 10% off. But the real surprise is that he has knives, he has hounds in stock that you could just buy right now on his website. But I can't because it sucks. The knife, aside from the ergos, is a gem. With the ergos, it's not desirable? Is that nicer? I'm sorry. I hate to be the harbinger of bad news. I don't know. I'm sorry. But that's my review. Have a good one, everybody, and I'll check you out in the next one.